Hey guys, TSD here. Just letting you know that I messed up, and when recording this episode, my audio was recording out of my headphone mic, which was inside of my shirt. So, even though we had a guest editor who tried their hardest to fix it, they could not, and that is all on me. So sorry. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the episode despite that. Just know that there's some really obnoxious sounding sound. Okay, bye.
Pillar of garbage, a podcast of garbage, a pillar of garbage, a podcast of pillar of garbage, a podcast of garbage, a pillar of podcast of garbage, a podcast of garbage cast, pillar of garbage of pillar podcast of garbage pillar with TSD Talks.
Hello and welcome everyone to the 17th episode of the podcast. That is the Polyphonic Octave Generator cast, where me and my co-host TSD Talks, we talk about our favorite varieties of the guitar pedal, the Polyphonic Octave Generator. TSD, what's your favorite model of Polyphonic Octave Generator?
My favorite model of polyoctave generator, that's great. There was this really great model in the 1970s that, like, when you press the button on the side of the guitar, it just generated this great polyoctave. Great polyoctave, and it was like,
well, I'll tell you what,
it was the best polyoctave I've ever seen in my life.
New strides are being made in the technology all the while. For instance, recent releases the Polyphonic Octave Generator 3 by Elektra, which has stereo outs and a harmony setting. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, that's pretty good. I remember back when they were first being made, you just had to crank a pedal to get it to go to work, and it was like strangely kind of taxing because you have to use both your hands for a guitar, but you also have to have like a third hand. So really, it was kind of more of a burden than you would think, even though it generates such good sound and such good polyoctaves.
And we can also think back to the kind of before even that, before we had technology such as this, where the only way to play two different octaves on your guitar at once was to just play two different notes. So naturally, that was pretty tricky as well, because, hey, like you say, we've only got two arms. That's probably the natural stopping point for the Polyphonic Octave Generator.
Well, I had like a whole thesis prepared.
Okay, yeah. Well, I hate to cut you off, but it was a bit of a last minute pivot from me. From what I have written down in my notes here is the Mpreg Elon Musk episode intro. I think we'll save that for another time. But I thought, first one in a while, keep it kind of not horrific for a few minutes. Good call, you think?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could call the time that Metallica shredded on that one stage with the polyoctave generator really horrific in its own way, but I don't think that's exactly what you meant.
Yeah, not quite as bad as an Elon Musk Mpreg, which we will be circling back to at some point. I have a loose outline for where that one goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, hey guys, been a minute. Thanks for tuning back in, because hey, if you're hearing this, you did. Just a little bit of context before we get into the discussion. So the last episode and this one as well, they're going to be, we didn't talk about this too much in the last one, so I'll throw it out there now for everyone. We're in kind of a rethink, retool stage of the podcast. So the last episode and this one are going to be more kind of vibes-based, hey, here's some stuff, let's chat about it kind of situation. Then we're going to do a couple more segment-based, where it's like we've cooked some segments up that are kind of generate more structured discussions, and then we're going to do a couple afterwards which are more kind of deep divey. So what we want you to do, to everyone listening along at home or in the car or hey, in the gym, just let us know which episodes you're digging more, which you're digging less, and we will adjust accordingly.
Exactly. I'm gonna be honest, I only heard about half of that because I kept getting distracted by a lawnmower in the back. I don't know if you guys.
Yeah, I mean, lawnmowers are pretty interesting. They kind of they have that one thing they do where they go, but then I guess they have the second thing where they kind of go.
Yeah.
So well, I can see how that would happen.
I can hear that right now. There's a demonstration happening outside my window. Hopefully, the person who we've got editing this, Buster, because we're having someone else edit this for the first time.
Yeah, guest editor. Thanks for this, Buster, by the way. Hey, everyone listening along. why don't you go and check out BusterCorp on YouTube? Here's a sales pitch. Some people listening to this will be fans of my channel, presumably. A few years ago, I kind of used to do faster, shorter, kind of quick-fire pop culture analysis videos. If that's your kind of thing, hey, why not check out Buster? They're kind of doing that kind of thing as well. So you're getting more videos. You know, not this silly big-time YouTuber, oh, maybe I'll release a video every month or every year kind of stuff. No, they're kind of coming at you now and then, and I think that's cool. So thanks, Buster.
Yeah, and the reason that part of the reason that that Buster's editing this one is because normally I edit these episodes, but part of the reason that we haven't had a couple of these episodes coming out is, one, that Pillar and I have both been pretty busy, but second part of that is that I've been editing a lot for my other podcast, Kingscreek, which, if you're listening to this when it comes out, it's not out as of the time of recording, but episode 1 of Kingscreek should be out by now, which...
Yeah, so why are you here and not there is kind of my question.
Yeah, I mean, you can just listen to it, like, right away. It's like 20 minutes, but like first listen to this so that the analytics for the podcast don't get as fucked up as they are normally. But you know, after that, definitely check out Kingscreek. But that's enough self-promoing. We can
maybe we'll circle back to Kingscreek in a minute. We
can dive into other things. Pillar, you had something that you said was like burning at the side of your consciousness, just something that like you really had the passion to
get off my chest.
Yeah, to get off your chest.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about that?
I think what you could be referring to is first one in a hot minute. Got a Pogservation for you all. Fuck VidIq.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So TSD, do you know what VidIq is? Because some people listening will and some won't. So do you know what it is?
To my understanding, VidIq is the browser extension you get to make the funny little percentage numbers underneath YouTube videos. It does more stuff than that, but
yeah. So it's a cool browser extension, but also what it is, that's more of kind of a tangential thing, I think. I mean, I guess I don't know which came around first, but when I say fuck VidIq, what I mean is VidIq is the name of a sort of a platform you can go on. It boasts a lot of features for YouTubers. The sales pitch is like, hey, use our tools, use our AI coach, use our advanced analytics to kind of see why your videos aren't doing so hot, maybe. You know, maybe this is going to be the secret tool that helps you blow up to internet content creator fame and stardom. And yeah, of course, you can use some of that stuff for free. The browser extension is a cool example of some of the free utility people can get from VidIq, and that's cool. But also, obviously, there are, paid memberships. And what I don't like is, let me just tell you about some emails I've been getting, because at one point I signed up to see if there was any any utility for someone like me in this service, and that was maybe a year ago. And I just keep, to this day, getting bombarded, man. Like in the past, so we're recording this on the 11th of April. I've already had like 8 or 9 so far in April. I had like 6 or 7 from the last week in March. Let me just read you some of the subject lines that they're hitting my inbox with. Action needed. Your membership status. Make better videos faster. Time is running out. Secure your membership. This tool identifies viral ideas. Limited time offer for Pillar. And then this is the thing that made me put it in the episode plan. Your YouTube dreams. And if you click on that, what you get is it's like a mock-up of like a sort of the YouTube plaque drawn on like some scribbled paper, and it says, stop dreaming, make it happen. Pillar, it's time. Lock in a VidIq membership for 2025 for only $9.50 a month. So
only.
Yeah, real bargain. I don't like this because
it seems a bit predatory.
Exactly. It feels predatory, and obviously no one's putting a gun to your head making you sign up for something like this, but the market for like one of these YouTube coaching sites is people who maybe feel like they don't know what they're doing on YouTube, maybe newer creators, or people who have been in the game a long time and haven't seen numerical success, people that are kind of thinking something must be wrong, what can I do? And then something like this comes along, you sign up, you give it a look, and they start sending you stuff like this. Now for me, hey, I'm kind of doing okay. This kind of bounces off me like nothing. But if I'm like a guy who's like, I'm out there, man, I'm in the YouTube mines, I'm making my videos, I think they're pretty good, but they're not going anywhere, what can I do? This comes sailing to me. Maybe it's gonna lodge a bit deeper. And that's part one, right? The kind of, oh, you can do it. Oh, use our tools. Stop dreaming. Make it happen. Just pay us all this money. Kind of messaging that they bombard you day in, day out. It is daily with these emails. That's part one. Point two is the fact that it's all pointless. I'm going to throw this to you, TSD.
Yeah.
Because that's been a little monologue. One of the things they offer that you obviously get more utility out of with the membership is they've got a lot of. They like to make a lot of their AI kind of ideation tools. And
oh, don't they?
I think. Yeah, that from memory, when I was checking these out last year, they're quite similar to the ones YouTube had. And you had a look at the YouTube kind of AI tab when that was around. Do you want
is it not there
talk
anymore?
a little about that?
I mean, it's not like I checked.
Well, I have not seen it. It's not been like thrown in my face. I feel like they've tucked it away in the corner. But a funny thing happened to you when you were looking at the video idea suggestions, right?
Yeah, it was just every single one was just a video I'd made before. Like it,
yeah.
There wasn't even like variants. It was just like retitles of like, and I think part of this is because my videos tend to range all over the place in terms of subject matter. Like I'll just.
It was similar for me too, though.
Yeah,
I remember that.
But it like it'll just. There was one that I remember that was just like the entire X-Men timeline explained, or the another one that was. Part 2 Star Wars TV shows. It's like, you didn't even take out the part 2 part. You didn't even take that out. Like this.
And you've got a video like why are skeletons so humorous, or it's
yeah,
called something like that,
yeah,
right?
Skeletons are so humorous.
And there was one that suggested like, it suggested something like, why do we find bones so funny, or just that kind of thing.
It just took the personality, the humor you could say out of the original title, because I don't know if you guys know this, humorous. That's also a word for a bone. So.
Yeah.
So you know.
Pretty highbrow stuff there.
Yeah.
So
you
like
have to think about it
something like
bit.
VidIq. Oh yeah, I mean obviously like this is kind of why we're still ahead of the AI, because we get the bone jokes. But it's a similar thing they've got over there on VidIq, but there's a lot of different variations of it. Like you've got your AI coach you can message, which is just a chat bot. You've got daily video ideas, which is obviously just the same thing in a different package.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a very similar thing, and you might look at this and think, as someone who doesn't get how the YouTube game works, hey, that's great. Even if it is minor variations on existing stuff, it's good to like get a assembly line of them coming forward, because isn't kind of reliable upload schedule kind of a constant flow of content kind of a requirement? No.
No.
It isn't. It's me saying this. You don't want to be putting more stuff out there if the stuff you're putting out there already, which is the stuff that this is copy pasting to you, isn't going anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Because basically, to boil things down, lots of something that isn't finding any success isn't really gonna kind of change anything. You regularity and frequency is good, but it's only good if it's stuff that's finding impact, right? So more of the stuff that isn't working, more of the stuff you've done in the past, which isn't working if you're going to something like VidIq and getting the AI to spit all this stuff out at you, that's kind of just going to keep you. I feel like that's not gonna work, and it's the same story with a lot of their features. Like another kind of headline thing is, use our better analytics, and yeah, sure, right. This is going to give you more detailed breakdowns of the stats behind your videos. But as something I watched recently, and I think you've seen too, TSD, Super Eyepatch Wolf's video on influencer courses made clear by having... Have you seen that?
I haven't. So the influencer courses one, if he made a new one, I haven't seen it, but I did watch his old one that he made.
No, this is old.
Oh, this is the old one? Okay, yeah. I've seen that then, yeah.
So the thing I remember about that video that kind of really validated me is... when he gets the kind of talking heads of the other successful YouTubers, and it's like, what utility have you gained from looking on the analytics on the YouTube backend? And everyone just says absolutely fuck all.
Yeah, like it's like interest. It's like it's just interesting.
It's cool for 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's like interesting data. It's like, oh, that's cool, and then like you never think about it ever again because ultimately,
yeah, there's very little you can
Yeah.
do to leverage that into new video ideas or video success or anything like that. And it's the same thing with advanced analytics. That's not going to get you anywhere. And also,
the only person who
just
I
one more
who I can
example.
think of
Yeah.
is that like actually takes analytics into account is Mr. Beast. And like, sure, Mr. Beast is successful or whatever, but he's also like got as previously discussed, he's got nothing behind the eyes. So it
Yeah.
like,
I feel like analytics works for Mr. Beast because what he does is like a lot of what he does is tinkering. Like it's trying to get that extra 5%.
like this
But-
dude like openly said that he like studied the YouTube algorithm for like years, and then he like found
And part of
the-
that is just chat because no one knows totally how it works.
Yeah.
Even
Like-
he doesn't.
Like I'm not saying he's like an uber genius or anything, but he did figure out like specific patterns and stuff, and like attention,
Yeah.
like the fact that it values watch time and it values retention. Like, wow, who could have figured that out? What? Hold on, I didn't know that watch time
And kind of
mattered.
Yeah, studying those, it's like you say, it's some of that is quite basic. It's studying those, taking your magnifying glass to those in the way someone like Mr. Beast does. Hey, maybe that's going to get you from, it's going to speed up your fast growing journey from 1 million subs to 10 million or something like that. But it's not going to push you from stagnant stats to 100K, right? It's
Yeah.
not.
It's not even going to push you
I
to
feel
like
it's an
1K,
accelerant.
really. Like it's
Well, yeah, exactly. Especially because the user base VidIq is clearly targeting, the small-time YouTuber. There isn't enough sample size there to
Yeah.
even be particularly helpful in doing the analytics deep study. But one more example I wanted to pull out is, they plaster around, SEO tips, SEO master generation, generate these tags and description stuff, blah, blah, blah. That can be helpful if you're like a tech review channel, right? When you rely on like Google search placements and stuff like that, right? But outside of that niche, most of the stuff people are doing on YouTube at the moment, SEO stuff is like pointless. And I remember I got an email, not from VidIq in the previous month, from like, there are a lot of these guys who are like freelance SEO kind of gurus who will like cold email you. And I got one saying something like, hey, Pillar, I just did an SEO check, and your video, the traitors, something about the traitors, I can't remember the title, scored like 2 out of 100. You should retain my services, and I can be a kind of SEO wizard. And I didn't reply to that, but I kind of wanted to, and I kind of wanted to say, broski, I just put out this video on the traitors, which is a UK reality show that none of my fucking audience cares about, and it's got 80,000 views. Clearly, SEO doesn't fucking matter for this kind of thing, because if it did, that would not have happened, right?
And like the thing about that also is that once I started like learning about SEO, because like as a creator, SEO and stuff is, like you said, is shoved down your throat and pretty much any opportunity. Once you like notice that, once you like know what SEO is and you know to start looking for it, you start to realize just how much stuff on YouTube does not like optimize, like quote unquote optimize that at all. Because like there are so many videos I've seen like on my like dashboard or whatever,
Millions of views,
millions and
videos
millions of
which have
views,
nothing,
nothing in the description. Not even like no tags or anything, just nothing. Like it does not matter.
I mean, I've stopped doing tags on my videos for the exact same reason. It literally is not, unless you're doing something which relies on people searching and it coming up, and maybe at the very small end when you're still trying to like get the algorithm to figure out these people will like this, maybe that 1% is worth it for you, but beyond that, it is not worth the time it takes to put the tags in, to be honest.
Like if it's something that's like commonly misspelled, like if your title is something that's commonly misspelled,
I mean, it's worth
like, sure,
doing, but it's not gonna move a needle.
Yeah.
There are a couple of caveats I wanted to give before wrapping this little thought nugget up. This Pogservation up. Point one is they do have a YouTube channel, which is targeted toward the same kind of audience, like people who are struggling to get their channels going and stuff. I don't want to say a bad word about that. I've seen a few of their videos, pretty good, no complaints there. Those don't seem predatory. who I feel like it's probably run by different guys, but props to those guys.
Just the clip
Point two.
of Pillar of Garbage saying "fuck VidIQ" is just take that, and that's the whole message. That's applied to the whole.
And I endorse that. Blanket fuck you to Point two is, you've heard me grousing around a lot for, they're selling you bad advice. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. How does it work, you ask? I will reply to that in a nutshell. No one knows for sure, but we know 95%. Basically, make
95.
videos people want to watch and make them good. And that's literally it. And the thing is, some of you might be thinking, but I am making videos that are good and that I think people want to watch, and they're not going anywhere. The truth is, there's not enough room in the limelight for everyone who deserves to be there. So some people who are making good stuff, it's not a fair system. Basically, the way it works is...
And this is the true of like any entertainment industry. It's not just like YouTube or whatever.
Oh, for sure. Basically, if you succeed, you stand a good chance to succeed through merit and through making stuff people want to watch. Obviously, that's not always the case. Some people come in with platforms already. Some people have ways of gaming the system. But like, on a long enough time scale, if you keep putting stuff out that's good, if you succeed, it'll be because that has been recognized by the demon algorithm, right?
Yeah.
But it's also the case that some people doing that won't get picked up, and that's just kind of unlucky. It's the case that a lot of people who started from nothing and ground their way up through YouTube got there because they were doing that, but it's like not everyone who's doing that in the end will be among that crowd. It's like a all thumbs are fingers, all fingers are thumbs kind of situation, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of depressing. That's kind of rough. Worked out for me, I guess. It probably, that was a coin toss. I was always lucky to get that.
Yeah.
But if you're thinking, is there a secret answer? These coaching services, they must have the answer. They've got it figured out. That's why they can sell the coaching service. I'm just missing some technical kind of behind the scenes know-how. No, it's not that.
It's
literally
snake oil.
You are a better judge of what is interesting about your videos and what needs to be improved than VidIQ, right?
Yeah.
So if you start getting emails saying, "Hey, look in for $10 a month for the whole year of membership so you can use our fucking AI ideation tools and SEO coaching stuff," you fucking send that you send that email to spam, right?
Yeah.
That's the Pogservation. Do you have any thoughts?
I do have some thoughts. The thing about the thing you said about the limelight and like the YouTube industry and whatnot and entertainment industry is that something I was thinking about this recently because I was thinking about like the discussion of like Nepo babies, like that whole constant discussion that's always going on, and like something that once you like invest yourself in like entertainment industry spaces and you start looking into stuff, you realize just how
so
interconnected everything
babies.
is. Like everyone knows everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone is someone's son. Everyone is someone's dad. Everyone is someone's wife. Everyone knows everyone.
But that doesn't preclude talent.
It doesn't preclude talent. And that's the thing, right? It's because I think of because I was thinking about this because of the movie. The fact that Jack Quaid is having like a big month.
I thought you were going to say Jack Quaid, yeah.
Yeah, like Jack Quaid's having a big month, or he was having a big month like a month ago. He was in the new Companion movie, and he was also in Novocaine, and he's currently in The Boys, and The Boys is supposed to get its next season, I think next year. And he's the thing about, and like he's also in this a member of this YouTube sketch series that I follow, 5 Second Films, that he's a frequent collaborator with them. And Jack Quaid is a really talented actor, I think. He's a really charming guy. He's got a lot to work with, essentially. But, he's also the son of Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan. So,
yeah.
It's not that he, wasn't talented or didn't deserve it, because it's, no one really deserves it in the sense of, deserving of the person who is going to get this is the person who is the most optimized for this. That's not, he just was lucky to be born in the situation, and he was also lucky to have
people
the
should
talent.
People should stop thinking about Nepo babies in terms of these are all frauds who are only here because of their connections, and think about it in terms of Nepo babies are lucky in that their position allows the kind of random luck of the draw of who gets noticed and who doesn't to be done away with. That's the biggest thing. And
that still
sometimes
sucks.
you do get people who are that sucks, but that is probably the way to be thinking about it. Sometimes you do get people who get into the industry for their connections and they can't act or sing or whatever for shit. And
and that's why that's why the term Nepo
Sometimes
baby gets thrown around a lot with them, because it's more obvious and more noticeable.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the only reasons you even think to call it out. And that sucks, and they shouldn't have been in that position, and that's very unfair. And it's also unfair, the ones that don't, but, like, you kind of can't really hold it against them too much. It's not their fault. Their parents were who they were, and if you had those opportunities, of course you're going to try and use them. You saying you wouldn't? It's unfair. The system sucks.
And the thing is that, like, anyone can kind of become a Nepo baby. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't, like, the thing about nepotism, whatever, is that it doesn't. This is my guide for how to hack nepotism.
All right.
So the thing about nepotism is that it's kind of the game of to play. It's not who. There's a saying in entertainment spaces that it's not what you know, it's who you know, and that applies to the whole nepotism thing. But it also means that, like, if you can, like, if you seek out people who have these connections, or if you involve yourself in that web, then opportunities tend to just kind of spring out at you.
And that's obviously easier if you're born rich or connected.
Right.
But
like, it's easier then. It's like everything.
It's a sliding scale, and you can always be on it to some degree.
Like everything, if you're born rich, it's easier. But, like, that also means that, you know, it doesn't mean there's no hope for you. It just means you're just going to have to try harder. Like, not in, like, the whole pull yourself by your bootstraps thing. You have legitimate obstacles that rich people do not have. But that also just means that, like, if you care about it and you want to do it, if you want to do it for the sake of doing it, then you're going to do it. You're going to find a way to do it no matter what. So the way I see it is you just got to keep going.
Don't take any tools out of your toolkit. Yeah. Grease some palms. Slide a few bribes into a few inboxes, you know? Kidnap a few babies. Film a few hostage videos. Send to the head of a few film studios messages to the effect of, I will slit your child's throat live on Twitch if you do not cast me in the leading role of the Green Lantern movie.
Yeah.
I assume they're making another Green Lantern movie.
That
might be the least realistic part of that.
That's just what, No, I think that
that's maybe how Ryan Reynolds got in.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but they are making a Lanterns TV show, so maybe that's how that happened.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Speaking of studio heads, do you guys want to? We kind of had this segment last time. We kind of did the streaming report almost. Do you want to switch over?
We've got some more stuff to chat about. That's what
stuff?
this is. These episodes are low-key, vibey out, chatting, hashing it out episodes.
Hashing it out about.
Probably going to talk about streaming.
About kidnapping babies and murdering them on Twitch. Oh my god. Anyway, yeah. Let's go into that. So, Pillar, here's something something that insert, like, some kind of preamble about how streaming is.
Yeah, here's some stuff we should chat about.
Streaming as a content form and as an industry, honestly, is kind of a dragon eating its own tail, etc., etc. You know, it's screwing over creatives, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
The thing about that, though, is that it is producing some really good television. So.
Yeah, you did mention to me I should watch the first episode of The Studio ahead of this discussion. I actually didn't do that. So
I think
balls in your court now, you know? Pretend I have.
But
let's talk. So The Studio is coming out. TV show you like. It's on streaming.
Preamble to this: The Studio is a TV show on Apple TV Plus, the same series that is producing Severance and produced Ted Lasso, or I guess is producing Ted Lasso because they're making a new season, which I don't understand. They also made Shrinking. They made what's that called? That show called with Rebecca Ferguson. Silo. They made Silo. And now they're
She's in Dune.
Yeah, she is in Dune.
Yeah.
And now they're making a show called The Studio, and that it's a show that's starring Seth Rogen, and so bear with me there. Starring Seth Rogen and it's written by Seth Rogen and a bunch of other people as well, including a guy called VidIq, which I think is funny whenever I see it, because I think of I think of
That's
Goofy.
like the
Yeah.
Goofy laugh.
I think of Goofy. Yeah.
Actually, is it like a? I feel bad now because that's probably like a normal name in a non-English language and culture, and I'm just being very insensitive. But also,
yeah, it's not it, but it's the clearly this Hyuk guy is it's like Evan Hyuk or something like that. This Hyuk guy is good at his job, because the studio is like one of the best satire shows I've seen, I think, in a long time, because it's the thing about it is that it's not like an in your face kind of like this is the point we're making kind of show. Like it's not like there's not like a big message that's like like greed and stuff, that's not good. It's not there's not like a very obvious like allegory. It's just there, it just creates this kind of atmosphere and kind of a slightly heightened version of like real life movie studio antics, and then just
kind of like Arrested Development kind of vibe, where like, it's kind of a cumulative satire, and there are little points of specific satire throughout, but it's more like everything coming together, taking the piss out of a specific sort of sector or sphere. Yeah,
and like the thing about it is that there's like a lot of satire that generally the actual plot of the studio, the premise of the studio is Seth Rogen plays a guy working at a movie studio called Continental Studios. It's like Warner Brothers or Disney or
Universal.
Universal. It's one of those. And after the owner of the company, who's played by Bryan Cranston, fires the studio head, played by Catherine O'Hara. Seth Rogen becomes the new head of the studio. And so here's the thing about Seth Rogen is that he's like a movie guy. He's like a cinephile kind of, he likes the old classics, and he likes like the new like kind of heightened horror. He's like a big A24 fan, stuff like that. And so but like Continental Studios is like a typical movie studio where there's a lot of like commercial corporate kind of movie making, which, not necessarily a judgment, but it's just it's not really his thing. And so the first episode, there's a plot line. I'm gonna kind of spoil the first episode of the studio, but it's really good. So if you don't want any spoilers, like you can just skip past this part. But I really recommend it. It's great. But the plot of the first episode, after he gets the job, is that Bryan Cranston is finalizing a deal with Kool-Aid, the company Kool-Aid, and he wants Seth Rogen's character to like set up a deal for a Kool-Aid movie. And so at the same time, Seth Rogen's character, for some reason I can't remember his character's name. I just watched like an episode like a couple hours ago. Anyway, but he also gets a call from Martin Scorsese, and like it's actually Martin Scorsese. Martin Scorsese is actually in the show. That's another thing about this show, is that there's every single episode there's a director, there's like a major, there's at least one major cameo from an industry person playing themselves. Martin Scorsese approaches him for a movie about Jonestown, the Kool-Aid thing, and then so Seth Rogen, the big genius that he is like, oh, Kool-Aid movie, Jonestown movie, what if we combined these two? And then like all the people around him are like, oh my god, that is the worst idea I think you could possibly come up with.
It's kind of a good idea.
Because like the thing that they're concerned about is not that it would be a good movie. It would be a good movie. It's just that Kool-Aid wouldn't like it, because Kool-Aid is the brand being used here. And so there's like a whole back and forth, and he keeps running back and thing. And so what ends up in the episode is that he ends up lying to Bryan Cranston's character, and he tells him that he bought Martin Scorsese's script so that he could kill it, and so they can make a Kool-Aid movie with the guy who made Storks instead, and then not have Martin Scorsese's movie
be competing with it.
Yeah. And so he kind of became what he swore to destroy almost, and that he became like one of the worst kinds of studio heads in that moment. And that's just like
kind of a shame. What? Because I'm just thinking, like, there's that whole Hollywood tradition of like two parallel kind of scripts being developed around the same time, so you end up with like Deep Impact and Armageddon. You end up with Bugs Life and Ants. They could have Barbenheimer the shit out of this.
They could have, but
yeah.
But like he bought the script already, and so he was kind of in a weird position because Bryan Cranston's character knew that he bought the script, and he didn't want to seem like, because Bryan Cranston's character doesn't like cinephile people, so he didn't want to seem like that was what was happening, so he just lied on the spot.
Well, it sounds like he's in a tricky situation. I don't know. I just keep thinking about the Kool-Aid movie now. They should make a Kool-Aid movie. I can just imagine like the trailer coming out, and it's like a kind of it's really kind of gritty,
they show like a trailer,
saturated visuals.
Is
there in the show?
There's like an announcement trailer that's like a big CGI Kool-Aid man busting through a wall, and it's like in theaters.
I'm just imagining like the requisite like sad, slow, like acoustic, like piano cover of a pop song, but like all sad.
Yeah.
I know this time it would be Wrecking Ball, you know, the Miley Cyrus song, and it's like, you know, the Kool-Aid guy smashing through a wall, but it's sad. It's sad and it's gritty.
I don't want to smash no more. I don't want to smash the walls.
Yeah. But you gotta smash the wall.
But it's such a good show. It's like it's hard to kind of describe, but it's kind of the kind of satire where most people in it are kind of terrible people, but they're not like unlikable, you know? Is that like Seth Rogen's character, like a lot of the time he is like the worst kind of instincts, has like the worst kind of instincts, and he's also at the same time got the Elon Musk problem where he's trying to be liked by everyone, but he's also like genuine about that part, and so he is kind of like pathetic and, you know, relatable in that way, but he also is consistently ruining every movie he touches. There's the episode 2 is a one shot. There's a lot of big one shots in this show.
But it's one shot season. I mean, I thought you were gonna throw it to Adolescence there for a second.
Well, here's the thing. That's what I was part of. What I was transitioning is that season.
We'll segue.
There's a lot of big long one shots in this show. Like a lot of scenes are filmed in one shot with like sweeping camera moments, and then the second episode is entirely one shot, but it's also about a film that's filming a one shot, and so you get to see the one shot being filmed within the one shot, and it's got like a Sarah, what's her name? Like it's like the director of Women Talking is in that one, and she's directing Greta Lee, and like there's so much stuff like that. Like every episode there's like a real life director and a real life actor, and they're playing themselves. And like at a certain point I start to wonder like what the talent budget was for this show, because like in episode 3 you've got like Anthony Mackie playing himself, and he's in a movie by Ron Howard playing himself. They're like full on major characters. They're not like cameos.
I reckon they're just doing it for free.
Yeah,
and I'll tell you why I think this. Hollywood loves nothing more than movies or shows about Hollywood. You ever noticed that? I mean, I'm not the first person to point this out, but like, if you want to get your movie to have like an Oscar nod or something, just make it about making movies. They love that shit. They eat it up. Even like I don't know. It's just it's.
Here's the thing, though.
Those movies rubs me the wrong way.
Those movies are often really good, though. Is the thing.
Yeah,
like
it's true.
Like The Fabelmans is really good. La La Land is really good.
The Holiday is really good.
Yeah, The Holiday. That is the best part of that movie. People talk a lot about Cameron Diaz and is it Jude Law?
No, I like the old guy when he walks down and he goes up on the stage.
Yeah, it's like that part's cool. That's my favorite.
Good shit.
And like Jack Black, he's playing music, and he says chicken jockey, and he.
Chicken jockey. Oh, I can't believe. Yeah, they were so ahead of their time with that one.
I also saw that one.
They were so ahead of their time.
I also saw the Minecraft movie. That's all I have to say about that. That's all I have to say about that.
For your soul. I have not seen the Minecraft movie, but I feel like in spirit I have seen the Minecraft movie, because the amount of times I've said chicken jockey in the past week, it's got to be in the hundreds.
The thing about the Minecraft movie is that I'm on Letterboxd right now. The top 2 movies on Letterboxd are the Minecraft movie plus Adolescence right next to each other, and it's been like that the last couple of days, and that's such a funny image for me.
They should do a crossover.
Speaking of Adolescence, I do want to talk about Adolescence. Here's the thing about the studio's episode 2 is that it's really, really impressive, but it did feel kind of like in like literally any other week I would have been like, this is the most impressive episode of TV I have seen this week and probably will see for a while.
Yeah.
If Adolescence didn't come in like a fucking wrecking ball, it was like, you know what? I'm going to do that times 8 because the studio is one half-hour-long episode. Adolescence is 4-hour-long episodes that are all one shot each.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in the UK. I'm absorbing that shit through osmosis. I haven't watched it myself, but everyone's talking about it. So again, I kind of have in spirit.
It's so good. I've only seen the first 3 episodes because I can only do 1 episode at a time because it's like emotionally it's a lot too. But it's like every time I watch it, I I'm astounded by like the amount of it's one thing to practice it as an actor, right? Because like actors have been doing plays and stage plays forever, and I assume the practicing was similar to that. But the camera movements are insane. Like they're like,
especially I think in the UK acting scene, like there's more of a kind of theater training to acting pipeline than there is. But even regardless.
But like the first episode is an hour and 5 minutes long, and it's about a kid, like the main kid, getting arrested, and it starts on the street outside his house, and it follows as the police raid his house, it goes into the house, it follows him back out, it follows inside the vans as the cars drive to the police station. It follows him through the police station, and it like changes perspectives, but it never leaves one shot because every time it changes perspective, it's like it just pans to another person, and it follows a person through a hallway, and it takes them to another room, and like everything's perfectly in time. There's at one point in the episode, like the guy says it's been about 15 minutes. We arrested him about 25 minutes ago, and I looked into the time code, and it had actually been 25 minutes in real time, and like
nice.
It's like, even ignoring the actual writing of the show and the like message and stuff it's given, which is also really, really good, and it's just it's just so incredibly well crafted. And I was like, this is Netflix that's making this. Netflix that made like Damsel last year. Netflix that made like, I don't know.
That's kind of a good segue into here's a point for a segue, right? Streamers are very hot and cold, but it seems like by and large the batting average for their TV shows is so much better than it is for their movies.
That's so true.
You know? Why is that?
Apple TV Plus, it's insane how much of a difference it is between like movies and TV shows and Apple TV Plus. Because every time I hear about a new Apple TV Plus show, it's always like the best show that everyone's ever seen that are talking about. Like Ted Lasso is phenomenal, Shrinking is phenomenal, Severance is phenomenal, The Studio is incredible, and whenever they talk about movies, it's like, yeah, there's Spirited, you know?
Yeah, there's some movies.
There's like Ghosted.
Yeah, they got that ex-director to do Y thing.
I
mean, it's true. You kind of have to lower the average quality some, but it's true for Netflix as well. Like they have libraries full of dog shit TV shows, but they also have really, really good ones, and they're still making good ones. Like I don't know. I guess the more recent ones I've watched on Netflix, Black Doves was alright. Man on the Inside, the Ted Danson one, that was pretty good. But then also those are releasing as Damsel is and as The Electric State is, which cost $320 million, more money than exists. I guess probably within a few mile radius of you. Probably, I don't know. Depends on where you live.
That's
lots of money.
That's more. I think that's more money than like if there was $1 for every American citizen. It's more than that. I think
it's it's in the ballpark, and that's just like, it's so odd that amount of money is being marshaled to create something that like a bunch of people are going to watch, a bunch more people aren't, and everyone's going to forget about 5 minutes after they've finished it. Yeah. If you will permit me, I want to kind of hop and skip toward something I watched fairly recently, which is a good example of this point as well. You haven't watched the Amazon Prime movie You're Cordially Invited, but
I have
maybe
not.
some of the listeners have. For those who haven't, I like it on one level because it's trying to be kind of a throwback, kind of 2000s, maybe 2010s style comedy. There's a rom-com element to it, and it's also like very much a kind of kind of like revenge comedy type thing, like, you know, like back and forth, escalating, like sort of jokey sabotage type stuff. But the plot basically is this fancy wedding destination gets double booked. Like the old lady takes one booking and then she dies, and then yeah, she just fucking dies, and then like someone else books it up the next day, and so these two big families arrive on this very small island, and they're both hoping to have a wedding there that same weekend, but obviously there's not enough room. Not enough facilities, so it's kind of a bit of a hullabaloo, you know. So stuff gets kind of crazy.
Oh, that's that's the one with Will Ferrell, right?
Reese Witherspoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You probably said that already. I think
So
I just missed it.
It's, I mean, you know, taking aside the point that it does very much seem like there is room for both of them, that's fine. We'll put that to one side. A few observations I wanted to make about your Cordially Invited. Point one is, all the posters, there's this crocodile. And from the prominence of the crocodile, you would imagine it's kind of like a Marley and Me situation, but with a crocodile.
Yeah.
Like maybe it's like a kind of three men and a baby kind of thing, but it's like two people and a crocodile. This crocodile has maybe 1 minute of screen time. He's in one scene. It's a good scene. It's probably one of the funniest scenes, but then he just fucking goes. You know? Why is the crocodile in all the marketing? I don't get it.
That happens a lot, I've noticed. Like, they just, like, pick one scene from the movie that's kind of funny, and then they put it in everything because it has, like, an animal or something in it.
Yeah, and I mean, this gets us onto why the movie kind of sucks. Well, it doesn't suck. It's fine. It kind of sucks a bit. The crocodile scene's the highlight, not just because there's a crocodile, but because a movie like this that relies on, you know, a lot of kind of comedic sequences, they aren't really that funny, you know? There are a few that are kind of amusing to watch, but, like, they're not really ha-ha funny. Like, they rarely are.
Yeah.
The cast is fine. They're doing a fine job. It's watchable. But that's one of the reasons why I feel like it hasn't got a great score, because I feel like when people are like, reviewing that style of comedy these days, they tend to be a lot more generous than they would have been back in the day, because we get fewer of them. But regardless, we're on like a 40-something Rotten Tomatoes score, which isn't a great approximation of quality, but it says something. Point two, though, and this is funny.
Unlike the movie.
Kind of let's go. To use the lingo of the young folk these days, this is kind of an enemies to lovers kind of situation we've got here, you know, in terms of like the book talk genre language. Because
I was so worried you were going to say like Rizzler or something.
Oh no, I mean I can throw something like that in
Please
there
don't.
if you want. Like,
keep going with what you were originally going to say as you were going to say it.
Reese Witherspoon's sister is getting married, I think. It's been a while since I watched it. Will Ferrell's daughter. And they're kind of the arch pranksters. They're kind of in charge of their factions. But wouldn't you know it, they kind of fall in love-ish by the end of it. And that's the through line, basically. And it's not like... They're both good actors. And at times, like... I guess there's chemistry adjacent stuff going on, and it's written fine. But like the big thing is, Will Ferrell is 57, Reese Witherspoon is 49. I don't know if you want to get into age gap discourse. I think we would both agree that's fine. Go crazy, you know, go nuts. That's like really, really kind of close for
closer than I thought it was.
Age gap discourse. Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing, because Will Ferrell is not a neutral 57. He's a hard 57. You know, he's like, oh, he's in his 50s, but like high end. You know, in the kind of visual language of celebrity aging. You know, because male celebs in their 50s, they tend to look like they're in their 40s a lot, right? Mm-hmm. He looks like he's in his 60s for a celebrity, whereas Reese Witherspoon, she's 49, but she's a very soft 49. I probably would have guessed, if you'd taken the kind of history, years passing bit of my brain out before I watched this, I would have probably put her about a 40 max, right? So instead of them being, 8 years apart, they kind of seem a lot further apart, and that's only compounded by the fact that Will Ferrell's wedding is his daughter's wedding.
Yeah, that
and his kind
like
of arc in the movie is...
like a weird parallel to draw.
Exactly. It is a little strange. so that
it's like they're trying to
wedding,
emphasize
wedding.
Reese Witherspoon's young,
Exactly,
the age difference.
yeah. And Will Ferrell's character's arc in the movie is basically kind of him letting go a bit, him accepting where he is in his life. Not like, hey, you're an old guy now, deal with it. But like, it's kind of like, okay, you can step back now. You thought it's going to be fine, that kind of thing. And Reese's arc, her character's arc, is kind of like a, hey, you're a career lady. You're kind of girl bossing it in like a cool way. Strike out,
It's kind of like
put your mark on the map. Get out there, do your career your way. And it's like, so on the one hand, we've got the old looking guy doing an old guy arc, and we've got the younger looking woman doing a young woman arc. I don't like watching them kiss at the end because it feels a bit strange.
Yeah, like it's not like about like a judgment of like the actual ages between the actors or even that like
it's how it's positioned in the film,
Yeah, like Reese Witherspoon, from what you described, it sounds like the character would be like in her 20s,
Yeah, or maybe I would say 30s.
20s, 30s.
She passes as like it scans as kind of like a Hollywood 30s female arc that's written for her, and his is definitely not that. And like
We're
that's
like,
just it doesn't go beyond the level of a even as
like,
it is, it doesn't really go beyond the level of a but the film isn't good enough to take you away from the
Like the chemistry isn't enough to be like, okay, this is challenging my assumptions, kind of.
The chemistry's not enough, and the comedy's not enough, and the hijinks aren't, apart from the crocodile bit, which is good, I'll give them that. So it's just kind of strange. And this takes us into where I wanted to get with this, which is, this popped up on our Prime, well, our friend's Prime. We don't have Prime because life is horribly expensive. So we have a shout out Callum one time. Hey Callum, I know you don't listen to these, but shout out Callum one time. We've got a friend called Callum who lets us use his Amazon Prime. It popped up on the Prime home screen. We were like, hey, rom-coms are fun. Let's watch it, I guess, and we watched it. But then, if you like looked on the Instagram of the stars afterwards, you would see like they were holding like big red carpet premieres and like giant press. What are they called? Where a bunch of people go in the room and they take the pictures. Yeah. And press conferences and all this for this movie. And it's like, Electric State budget is $320 million. That's the most expensive streaming movie, I think. This one's budget is not listed. Presumably it's a lot less just because of the type of movie it is. But also
those stars
aren't cheap.
Can you imagine if it wasn't?
And, I would
have
questions as to where that money went.
Argyle... Did you know that Argyle's budget was $200 million?
These executives need to be fucking guillotined, man, I tell you. But no, where I'm going with this is
$100 million haircut for Henry Cavill.
This movie, You're Cordially Invited, was described in publications that kind of know their stuff as big budget, like big budget for a comedy, big budget for a streaming comedy, but big budget, and not just in the movie, right? They're splashing cash to have these premieres and these big fancy-looking conferences. And I'm just thinking, no one's getting a Prime subscription to watch You're Cordially Invited. Maybe 3 guys, okay? Maybe 10 guys. But, like, no serious amount of people. So the value proposition of this comes down to audience retention. And even if it was good, how many people is it really going to keep on this? I find it really hard to square the amount of money that's being spent to produce stuff like this and the amount of expense they're going to outside the film themselves. Flying stars all around the country, renting out big things, doing big events and stuff. I know that's a drop in the bucket compared to the costs of making the movie, but still, how is it possible that amount of money exists and is funneled into these places and, like, the rest of us are just scratching and scrubbling out here in the dirt? Your country is so impoverished in the egg purchasing power department that they elected a fascist. Why have we not clubbed their heads in yet?
I don't know.
It's kind of where I wanted to get to with this.
Like eat the rich, etc., etc. I wanted to kind of hone in on a specific detail there about obviously I agree with you. This is all exorbitant, etc. Blah blah blah. It's all like horrific overspending on these things. But the thing that gets me is that it's stuff like You're Cordially Invited isn't even the big money makers for those streaming services.
Yeah.
Because when Netflix does a huge in Netflix in 2017 does like a huge press event for Stranger Things, I understand that. Stranger Things was I say was because it's not really anymore, was like the biggest fucking show in the world for a while.
Cultural juggernaut, yeah, for sure.
It brought in so many people to watch Netflix. It brought in so much attention to Netflix. And everyone's talking about it. Everyone's seeing it. Stranger Things is a juggernaut, so I understand investing that much money. I understand more recently, Apple completely went all out for their promotion of Severance, because Severance, like objectively speaking, it raised Apple's CD Plus's subscriptions something like 200% in like a week when the first couple episodes dropped. That I understand doing big red carpet events for that, doing like the Times Square live actors promotion thing for that, and like that I get, because like that is your big money maker. But like throwing these like massive red carpet events for like these movies that no one is talking about, that aren't going to be seen by most people, and isn't bringing in money, I just don't understand that. Like just from a pure business angle, because like on the one hand,
you don't know what's gonna do super well before you put it out, but on the other hand, you kind of do, right?
Right. Like from an artistic
you have an
side,
idea.
From an artistic angle, I think that red carpet events are like kind of gauche a little bit. I don't mind them in concept. Like I like the idea of like reporters talking to the actors and asking about stuff. Like that's the part I like. Like I like when I see a red carpet event, the part that I like is like, oh, I'm gonna see Letterboxd interview a star and ask what their 4 favorites are later. That's cool. I like that. But I just don't get like the whole extravagant, like, big red carpet, big giant like 3D sign that they're gonna put in Times Square for 2 hours, and then it's gonna go into like a waste bill and waste bill. What?
Hey, we gotta fill the landfills up. You don't want empty space down there. That could cause subsidence.
Right. I don't know.
Are you pro subsidence?
Subsidence? No, I don't think I'm pro subsidence.
I'm pro the substance.
That is true. The substance is good. God, the Oscars were pretty good this year. I think I mentioned that they were like for the as far as the Oscars go, they were pretty good. The big source.
I still need to watch Anora.
What was that?
I still need to watch Anora.
Anora's good.
That's what it's called, right?
Yeah. I don't think Anora was not my pick for Best Picture, but I understand why it won. And like I think that it's like not a bad movie to win Best Picture. My personal pick for Best Picture out of the nominees was I'm Still Here, and pick overall I think was Sing Sing, but that didn't get nominated, so whatever.
All right, we've got to put the Oscars committee on our list too.
Yeah. But I guess the ending of this streaming rant is that Adolescence is good, the studio is good, the Electric State,
Not so good.
You're Cordially Invited, sounds not great. You should watch honestly, Apple TV Plus is doing good work. The company, of course, is evil because that's kind of...
I need to cancel my sub, but I'll try and watch the studio before I do.
Yeah, like it's the same thing with every streaming company, it feels like. I don't know. Oh, I can't believe we didn't talk about budgets and didn't mention Invincible. Like Invincible is like one of Amazon's biggest shows. Why aren't they giving it more money?
Yeah.
I just don't understand that. It's like one of the only consistent complaints. Like
here's the thing.
Like not even like about the animation.
There's a few kind of
just, like,
smart bigwigs in suits, and they get paid a shit ton of money, and they decide these things. So they're probably smarter than we are, and we should probably just trust them, and maybe get on our knees and kind of kiss their feet a little bit too.
Like Seth Rogen.
I think
like
nice.
Seth Rogen.
For
like Seth Rogen probably in a suit, and he's like he knows because he made the Kool-Aid movie.
Yeah, well, he knows what's going on.
Yeah.
Do we want to? Yeah, let's move on. I think.
Well. Actually, wait, there was one thing I wanted to mention about Adolescence before. It does talk about, like, manosphere stuff. You probably know this already because of cultural osmosis. Yeah. Apparently, like, Andrew Tate and Elon Musk and all those people had, like, huge freak out about it, which I think is very funny because, they're like, oh, they're saying that, like, our fans are murderers. It's like, no, they're just saying that you make it so that young boys become more violent and isolated. That's your fault, dude. Anyway,
I love the particularly fragile spot that they're in, where they're like, we're tough, we're giving the hard answers people don't want to hear, we're fixing Western society by being big alpha men. But it's like the moment they get the inkling that like one person in the room like doesn't like them, they're like, no, but you have to be nice to us. You can't. Oh no, you can't say these things. I'm just a little guy, you know.
Yeah, it's not like in Adolescence. In Adolescence, there's not like a scene where like. Where Jamie, the kid, he doesn't like a scene where he says like, I killed someone, and then because Andrew Tate told me to. Like, that's not something that happens.
They should have put that in.
That would have been good, though.
That sounds kind of good.
They do mention Andrew Tate. He does get name dropped. So.
Nice.
All right.
He should get body dropped to the ground.
That's so true.
Drained of blood and vital fluids. Let's do a new segment called Playhouse of Garbage.
Ooh, yeah.
Playhouse of Garbage, Playhouse of Garbage, Playhouse of Garbage, Playhouse of Garbage.
All right, this is a segment you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I'm kind of birthing this segment to bring some of the language forward from the planned Elon Musk mpreg intro.
Oh, great.
Basically, I thought it would be fun in the kind of just chatting about stuff format to chat about another medium which I consumed recently, which is I went to see a play in the West End, which was fun. It was my Christmas present. Me and my partner, we went to see Elektra, starring Brie Larson. It was an adaptation of the Sophocles Greek tragedy, and I thought it was pretty neat.
But does it have Daredevil in it?
Do you know anything about... Yeah, he shows up. He's like, I'm a really good lawyer, you know? Yeah. And then everyone kind of leapt to their feet and started cheering and yelling chicken jockey. It was amazing.
That was really cool.
No, that was when I fell asleep during it, I think.
Oh.
No. I didn't fall asleep because it was gripping. It was a good performance. I want to say, hey guys, if this is coming out before Elektra wraps up its run, I don't know if it does. I don't know when it's running to. It's a good watch. Brie Larson, she's kind of unrecognizable. She kind of shaved her head, gave herself a buzz cut for this. I honestly didn't recognize her for a second, even though I knew she was the main person. Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy. Wait, hold on. Brie Larson, Pillar, are you telling me that this is it?
Yeah, this is actually a woke play.
Oh, I was gonna whisper it, but it wasn't showing
it.
It wasn't showing up on the Discord.
Yeah. You're gonna do that ASMR kind of. Yeah.
Is it woke?
They actually built a time machine and went back in time to ancient Greece and made Sophocles woke.
Oh no.
Yeah. Do you know anything about the Elektra story?
I don't actually. I thought when you said Elektra and mentioned Brie Larson and mentioned that it was a Greek tragedy, for some reason I thought of Antigone, which I do know Antigone, but it's
yeah.
not
I mean,
that.
it's kind of similar vibes to Antigone in a sense, in that
Antigone is also good for people who don't know. You should check out.
Yeah, shout out Antigone one time. But no, so basically we're set in the aftermath of the Trojan War. Our protagonist is Elektra, who is the daughter of Agamemnon, who is... I'll just do broad strokes.
Right.
Agamemnon is the leader of the Greeks in Troy. Troy is
Known
basically
cool
the
guy.
Greek Afghanistan, right? Yeah, Agamemnon is not a cool guy. The Greeks go and invade Troy because basically the gods shuffle some stuff around and make the Greeks want to go and invade Troy. Invading Troy, they win, but they kind of also destroy themselves in the process. Yada yada yada.
Read the Iliad,
later, yeah. Read the Iliad, read the Odyssey. Go on the Wikipedia page for the lost stuff in the epic cycle. Drink that shit in.
The kids these days are listening to Epic the Musical. I'm sorry, I keep interrupting.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to go back to the classics. Got to pick up the stone tablets and the wax tablets. That's what we read back in my day. Agamemnon, bit of an absentee father, right? Because he's been away at war. But Elektra loves him. She's like, he's my dad. He's a cool guy. He's kind of doing his duty, what the gods told him to do. Agamemnon comes home, right? When he comes home, his wife Clytemnestra and her new king, Aegestius, they kind of kill him. They kind of murder him. And this is done
He
because...
completely deserves it, by the way, just so you guys know. Like,
it depends. He mostly
well,
does.
I guess depending on the
this is
interpretation.
another one of those things where it's kind of capitalizing on the fact that there are so many different myths behind this, and depending on which one you listen to, it's more or less justified. Basically, the idea this runs with is that as they were trying to get to Troy to attack it 10 years back, the gods were stopping the Greeks from getting there by making there be no wind, so they couldn't sail. And the idea was the Greeks figured out, hey, let's sacrifice Agamemnon's daughter, right, so Elektra's sister, Iphigenia, and if we do this, then it's like an offering, and they'll let us go to Troy and like kill a bunch of Trojans. So they do this. Agamemnon like kills his own daughter, and it works, and they can go away and do some war. And now Clytemnestra, the dead girl's mum, is like, that's kind of over the line. I didn't like that. I didn't like that you did that.
That's
so
not cool.
So yes, on the one hand, yes, kind of slay queen, good for her. But the angle Elektra's kind of coming at it from, and I think the angle the play, if not endorses, presents for us to follow is, yes, it was bad, it's kind of rough, but it was what the gods decreed. There are rules in this life. If the gods say jump, you say how high. Clytemnestra, retaliating further, is kind of carrying on, is kind of creating like a cycle of violence that kind of has no end. So like, it's like, okay, yeah, I can see why you would do that, Clytemnestra, kill your husband. That's reasonable, but also, like, you're just kind of rolling that ball forward now, and now it will fall to Elektra. So basically, we follow Elektra as she basically tries to, and eventually, spoiler alert for a 2,000-year-old thing, succeeds in killing her mum and her kind of stepdad with the help of her returning brother Orestes, who is kind of like, we think he's dead, but then he's not, blah. And as with some ancient drama, it's not like a kind of edge-of-your-seat plot like we kind of construct narratives these days.
Like
it's more
a lot of old Greek tragedies literally just told you what happened in like the first 10 minutes and then let you watch it play out.
It's a different kind of consumption. This is something I'm going to sort of touch on in a video coming out soon in an entirely different context. It's kind of mythic consumption versus novelistic consumption. It's not, the excitement isn't what's going to happen next. It's, we know what's happening here. Let's see it happen and see it kind of presented again, right? And so the kind of, it's more like a vibes-based thing to the modern viewer in something like Elektra, because it kind of, there's no intermission, it's like 1 90-minute thing. You're kind of all the while sinking into this kind of morass of like sort of ideas about revenge and retaliation and retribution, and these things come together in a very timely way in this Elektra play. It's kind of, it is kind of a play about the powerful acting without regard for like the rules, the ethics, and the idea that eventually that, if you kind of fuck around, you are going to find out, that violence might come back to you. And it's like, it's not even saying, Elektra, you as an individual, get out there and do your shit. It's none of that. It's more, the character we follow is kind of almost an instrument of the universe's natural kind of balancing force. It's kind of like, by crossing the lines that were crossed, by crossing these uncrossable lines, there's only so far you can push things, and eventually it's going to snap back. And I kind of, as a viewer in 2025, that made me kind of fired me up a bit to watch. I think that's cool. The play does consciously kind of invite you to modernize things. Like the aesthetic of it is kind of punk rock, which was kind of cool. Like it's a very minimal production. It's like almost like a black box setting, but it's like on a rotating plinth, and there's only a few props, and one of them is like a paint can that's continually spraying round in a circle. And so by the end of it, all the characters have been sprayed by this paint can, just like black paint. Yeah. But it's like, buzz carts, kind of leather jackets. Brie Larson's got some guitar pedals that she uses to like scream in different like pitches and tones through this microphone. It's very, very punkish. I thought it was good. I thought the reviews weren't what I was expecting though. The reviews were kind of mixed. Like there are some good ones and some bad ones. But just I feel like to loop you back into this lets us play a game called Are You Smarter Than a Theatre Critic? Because there was one one-star review I saw by a fellow called Alexander Cohen. Yes, we are naming and shaming for Broadway World. I did wonder if, like, because there was one sentence earlier on in the review, quote, female rage against the patriarchal machine is rammed down our throats even if it doesn't cohere. That's one thing he says in the review. And it's like, this is just a translation of the text, though, you know?
Yeah, like it's not
if
even.
it didn't cohere then, it doesn't cohere now. It's like they're not, you know, they're not woken it up.
It's like the thing about a lot of productions of like older plays, like you see this with like Shakespeare productions. Like for people who aren't big into theater, the Shakespeare plays and basically any kind of play, it's really encouraged for directors, for new productions to innovate the set design and the aesthetic and stuff. Like all the time, like you will very rarely find like a Shakespeare play that takes place literally in like the time period it was written, you know? Like one of the best possible.
They just kind of throw you a few kind of like flavor pops to like suggest at a different kind of contextual layer to like hold around it.
Yeah. Like but the thing is that they also never changed like the actual text, right? It's like like the text stays word for word.
Maybe sometimes they'll excise bits, you know, they'll snip a character out or a scene out here or there, maybe, but like it's subtraction, it's never changed.
Like my favorite production of Hamlet is the David Tennant production that the BBC did.
I love the David Tennant one. Yeah.
And that takes place in the modern day or relatively modern day, like.
It takes place asterisk.
Yeah. It's
like that. It's the modern day aesthetic layer on top of it.
Yeah, and like David Tennant's Hamlet, he plays Hamlet. Shocker, I know. Like, you know, they make references to swords and weapons and stuff, but like they're guns, like they use guns, and like the sword fight at the end is a fencing match, like a modern day fencing match and stuff like that. And like there's also probably the most famous example of this is Baz Luhrmann's Romeo plus Juliet, which is also pretty good. Yeah. It's not my favorite production of Romeo and Juliet, but like I think for what it is, it's pretty good. I think my favorite production is one that actually does take place in the 1500s, which was an old 50s movie I watched in English class. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, but there's one from the 60s that was super popular that they show a lot of people.
That might have been it. But like,
kind of dicey. Don't look into how old the actors were.
Yeah, don't look into that.
Don't go down that rabbit hole.
Specifically, don't look into how old Juliet's actor was.
Yeah, it's probably fine. You don't need to check.
Yeah,
it isn't fine.
But it's not fine. But the thing about like theatrical productions and stuff like that is that like the best theatrical productions make changes, and they make those changes that are in line with the text in a way, like thematically. And so I feel like it's from what I understand about what you've said about Elektra is that like maybe it's like the literal text says like that it's about like obeying the gods or whatever, but like ultimately it is about morality, right? And it's about like common morality and like the rich and powerful thinking that they're above certain like strains of morality, and like maybe what that morality is specifically has changed a little bit in the 2,000 years since ancient Greece. But the overall theme of, you know, rich people and powerful people thinking that they're above the law, above the common law, above, you know,
it's totally
human decency, like that, you know, that stayed the same. So that's why a punk rock aesthetic, which is all about like.
I think she's wearing like the T-shirt of like a girl punk band or something.
Yeah,
so
like
that's pretty much as far as it goes.
But that's all about power dynamics, right? That's all about the
exactly.
The, you know, striking out against the man, striking out against the rich and powerful, and so, you know, like obviously fighting against the rich and powerful is one of the most universal story threads we've had as a civilization. So it makes sense for the play to still resonate thousands of years later, and also be adapted in this way that it is more palatable and understandable to a modern context.
And the interesting thing is, like, I think you'll bang on with all of that, but it's honestly, like, it's I would agree with that if that were even the case, but it's kind of like the play really only makes a few token gestures in that direction even, and I think they work. I think less is more with this. I think the kind of few, like, splashes of modernity let you kind of access the old stuff better and make you kind of see past the gap there. Like the translation is Ann Carson's, and it's kind of, it is quite formal, and people have called it stilted, but it has this real clarity. I think maybe, we could talk about that a bit more, but we probably don't have to. Hey guys, Google Elektra and Carson version and read some lines, right?
Yeah.
There's some good stuff. Actually, for instance, right, Elektra's first bit of speech, I'll read a few lines. I've got it pulled up here. "O holy light and equal air shaped on the world, you hear my songs, you hear the blows fall, you know the blood runs when night sinks away. All night I watch, all night I mourn. In this bed that I hate, in the house I detest." It's like that kind of diction. And yeah, that's not like conversational, but you can kind of you can kind of see the clarity there, I think, through the kind of modern accoutrements. But there's not even really that many of them, and they're so general that, like, I think it's just bizarre to look at that and see like a specificity of female rage against patriarchy that doesn't cohere with the story. I think that's bizarre. But anyway, what I was hoping to get to in this guy's review, right? One of the questions he poses in the kind of like diatribe of like, this doesn't make sense, this is bad, is why is there a paint cannon sporadically spritzing the chorus? And this is this thing I mentioned where there's this paint can that's spraying, like going around in a circle, intermittently spraying characters, and by the end they're all drenched. TSD, are you smarter than a theater critic? Could you tell me what this means?
Okay, so bear in mind that I have not seen this show, and I only am working off of the little context clues you've
Very
given me.
truncated description. Yeah.
I'm guessing that the circle of the punk can that marks all of the characters throughout the play.
Yeah.
But in a play that references the cycle of violence, I'm guessing it's some kind of reference to this cycle that we're seeing and how every character is marked by it as time goes on. They get more invoked.
Okay.
I'm assuming.
So you've done a pretty good. I'm not marking. You know, you're not getting a number grade for this, but I think you'd place near the top of the curve for that. Yeah, that's pretty much bang on. It's a play about things askew, snowballing until everyone is fucking filthy with with the blood and the violence.
And that's why it's black paint.
And
like
by
red
the
paint
end of the
probably
play,
would have
everyone's
also worked.
filthy. Yeah, exactly. And it's. I thought it was cool. I think you probably would have done. I don't know what Alexander Cohen is. I don't know what his problem is.
What do you say?
I think he's a loser. He said. Why is it doing it?
Oh, well, what's all this then? What's all? I don't quite understand this. What's all this then?
But no, you've won the game of Are You Smarter Than a Theatre Critic?
Oh boy.
Top marks.
Oh, thank you. I'd like to thank the Academy. The Academy, the Theater Academy, the Theater Academy, the theater class I went to.
Not those hot shots in fucking Hollywood, with their newfangled cinema
Just dropped
cameras.
my phone, which made a huge bang. Sorry about that, whoever's listening, and or Buster, if they have to edit that out.
But no, I think that wraps us up nicely for Playhouse of Garbage, which might be making a reappearance in the not too distant future because we've got tickets to see the Royal Shakespeare Company's production of My Neighbor Totoro.
Oh, that's cool.
Soon. So maybe I'll report back on that.
I also am hoping to go to the Oregon Shakespeare Festival soon, and they're doing a production of As You Like It, and I love As You Like It.
This should just be this should be a Shakespeare / Greek tragedy.
I love theater. I love theater, Charlie. I love theater.
To be or not to be, that is the question.
But you mentioned something about My Neighbor Totoro. Do you think that's a pretty good segue?
Yeah, and I also mentioned newfangled film cameras.
You think it's a good segue?
I think these two things together have created a fantastic segue into a little bit of chatting about our upcoming projects.
We don't have a jingle for that, I don't think.
Jingle for that. Maybe I'll make one.
Yeah.
and send it to you or Buster.
Yeah, it's probably.
But maybe I won't.
Maybe. We could just leave this bit in as the jingle.
Exactly. Yeah.
We're coming up with some
And
new
then we
stuff.
could reuse that exact audio clip every time we talk about new
The
stuff.
like
in the
2-minute
future.
audio clip, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But
Let's go with you first.
let's go with I'm gonna suggest we shake this up a little bit, because not to rush us, but just to keep us concise. Why don't we flippity flop the script a little bit? You know, spin those tables round. Why don't I address your thing and you address mine? Because we've kind of showed each other our things. Guys.
We showed it. We showed it. We showed each other.
I've seen TSD's preview. Yeah. So why don't you speak a little about mine, then I'll speak a little about yours.
Right. So, Pillar, as of, like, it'll probably be out by the time that this episode is out. Depending, like, when are you planning on
I
releasing
should think
it?
so. Roughly soonish. Yeah, it'll be out.
All right. Yeah. Anyway, Pillar made a video about generative AI and the Studio Ghibli filter that ChatGPT made, OpenAI made, whatever, and it's got a video. It's got one of the best titles, I think, of any video in a YouTube video in a long time. Better a pig than a fascist. Which, love it. First of all, great title. It of course references Porco Rosso.
I came up with it
Ghibli movie.
entirely by myself. It's
Yeah.
not from anything.
Yeah.
I just thought one day.
It would be better to be a pig than a fascist, you know? And you talk a lot about...
I'd love to be a pig.
The thing
Eating
that
all the
stuck...
slop from the trough.
You
know?
Yeah. It would be cool. But the thing about your video that really stuck out to me is that, for those of you who haven't seen it, it talks a lot about the power dynamics of AI art and the discussion around Ghibli filters, the Ghibli filter, and Hayao Miyazaki's, artistic merits, and how there's a weird amount of, I say a weird amount, but it's like to be expected with, as we'll get into, but a weird amount of like powerful authoritarian-esque governments, authoritarian-esque I say because not officially, whatever, using generative Ghibli, famously pacifistic Ghibli studio imagery to promote their own military operations and,
General shit.
general chicanery. I'll say that, chicanery. That's what I was going to say. There's a whole discussion happening right now around AI art because for a long time, at least in my circles, because I'm in a lot of artist circles, the general agreed upon opinion was that AI art is trash and should be burned with the fire. And I generally tend to agree with that, not because it looks bad, but it does. But not because it looks bad, because it's unfortunately getting better. What it says to me, and what you touched on in your video, is that it says that if I create an AI-generated image and I use it in place of where I would put a real artist's work, what that says to me is that I value this thing that steals other people's artwork and mashes it together in a haphazard way more than I do the actual labor and value and time of artists. And
yeah, even in the kind of superficially appealing generated images, I guess Midjourney type stuff, there is a shocking kind of lack of depth to them, but there is a depth in the real world signification of using that in a public setting.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a strange dichotomy there.
It is a statement being made, but it's not a statement being made by the art. It's a statement being made by the person who, I say art, quote unquote. It's not art, because art is an expression of human creativity. That is the definition. The definition of art is expression of human creativity. So AI art is not art. That is my hardline stance, and I will not have my mind changed about that.
I think we solved it.
Yeah.
Right to the fellas at OpenAI.
Yeah.
Sorry, no. Thank you, but no.
But the reason that discussion is happening is because this is something interesting that I've been seeing a lot on my own social media feed that I don't think your video actually touched on that much, is that a lot of people who are fighting back, a lot of these people are arguing in bad faith, but some of them are arguing genuinely at this point the idea that AI image generators make art more accessible for people who can't do it. And
Which is a fucking bollocks.
It is. But the reason that I want to say that is because I understand where these people are coming from. Like, I understand how they got there, what their thought process is. Like, when they're genuinely saying it, they're not just like, tech bros on Twitter being like, blah, blah, blah. But people who are genuinely thinking like this, like, their thought process is, to be an artist, I need to have these materials. I need to have this training. I need to have, like, all these things. Like, I need to buy, like, the top of the line oil paints. I need to be able to have the free time to spend hours a day lounging around and painting. Like, I need all that stuff to be an artist. And so because I don't have that stuff, I'm not an artist. And so by making this, I can have art by making it. But the thing is that that's not art, right? Like, that's not what art is. Art isn't being able to make the bestest oil painting of some sunflowers. That's just what one artist did. Right now, I'm in a room that has a print of Vincent van Gogh's sunflowers painting, and I'm looking at it right now. And when I see it, I see all these little imperfections, and I see these little touches, all the different paint strokes. I see evidence, even in this like canvas printing of it. I can see the evidence that someone made this, Like, I can see Vincent van Gogh's signature on the painting. I can see the little details, the little brushstrokes, the little imperfections, all that stuff. And so what that tells me is that I look at this, and I think about how someone put so much into this. Like, even if we're disregarding any of Vincent van Gogh's, like, own artistic visions, own artistic, desires for this painting, objectively speaking, he spent hours and hours of his life and so much materials on this project. That's just a painting of sunflowers. And so what that does is that it tells me is that has meaning. That has meaning not because if some art critic has said this is a beautiful painting. It's not because of that. It has meaning because someone made this, and someone clearly put so much time and effort into making this. And I'm sorry, I'm getting a bit choked up talking about this.
No, it's fine, yeah.
And that, I think, is the truest expression of the human spirit, is being able to see that someone made this just for because they wanted to make it. And I'm having an emotional reaction just thinking about that, because I'm thinking about who Vincent van Gogh was and all of his struggles, and the fact that he chose to make something so meaningful and so beautiful despite all the struggles in his life. Not because of them, but in spite of them, because he had something to share with it. Holy shit, I'm actually crying thinking about that. I did not expect that to go.
No.
Sorry about that. But
it's fine. So,
my point with all that.
If you need a minute, yeah.
I guess my point with all that is that if I were to go into Dolly Mini or Midjourney or whatever and just type in the words an oil painting of sunflowers, I would not have that same emotional reaction to it, because it would just be something that an algorithm that some guy in Silicon Valley programmed to mash together images that other people have made, and it made it in 2 seconds and burned like an acre of a rainforest to do so. And that does evoke an emotion in me, but it's not the emotion that art invokes me. It's the sadness that something had to be created this way. That got really intense. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it was good. If anyone wants more of that, I was just going to say good video on YouTube by Josh with parentheses, all about AI art and that idea of art as human minds communing through a medium. That's a great video to follow up on the ideas you were bringing up there. I think that's all true, of course. I think AI doesn't make making art accessible. It makes the kind of instant production of a piece of media roughly corresponding to a thought or a prompt you had. It makes that, I wouldn't even say accessible, I'd say available, because, you know, it makes it accessible to you, but it does so by, you know, shoveling another shovel of shit onto the environment and transferring wealth to, you know, people who shouldn't have it and all this, blah, blah, blah. There is a cost there. It isn't that it doesn't exist, it's just that you're not paying it yourself straight away. But yeah, I mean, it's also a question of, I think for me, the best part about art is not like the way it closes down, it's the way it opens up. It's the way, yes, Van Gogh was thinking about something when he painted those sunflowers, thinking about a specific way of seeing that he wanted to communicate, but you don't necessarily have full access to it. You have like partial access. You have like a ray of light into it. And it's like, for me, art exists, you know, there is kind of reader side art that is created by you every time you try and widen that gap up. And I think that is something that fundamentally doesn't exist with AI art, because it was just, it's just a fundamentally recombinatory process by which stuff is chucked together. Blah, blah, blah. Hey, you guys know all this already. But
all this to say, you made a great video, Pillar, by the way.
Thank you.
It was
yeah.
about this.
Yeah. No, I do think it's my... I did say somewhere recently, I think it might be my best video ever, at least my best script ever. Let's see if I've pulled it together in the edit, which is coming along nicely.
Yeah, I can't speak to the edit.
Well.
The edit's pretty good. It wasn't complete when I saw it, but what you've got there is pretty good.
Thank you. But yeah, let's kind of wind our way toward. Let's walk towards the end of this podcast episode by talking about Kingscreek.
Yes.
TSD, you've made a podcast. The first episode will be out, if not when this is, then like it probably will be. If not, you know, soonish.
Yeah.
16th of April.
Which, as of recording, is 5 days away. Sorry.
Yeah. So the first episode is kind of about a freaky tree and some freaky animals.
It is.
Basically, we go back in time to the journals of Damien's uncle.
Yeah.
And it's kind of I assume we're gonna get a bit crazy with things, but it's starting off in what seems to be a innocuous if creepy place of all these dead and oddly behaving animals kind of cropping up. And I don't want to spoil it too much, but one thing I did want to ask is kind of tying this back a little bit, peeping behind the curtain into to what I see versus what you see. How much thought, when you were writing this first story, how much thought goes into like the larger puzzle versus crafting the individual piece?
Well, the thing about that episode is that I wrote it originally as a pilot, as a kind of proof of concept for the show. So it is changed a little bit. Like, there's details changed in there. But largely, the plot of that episode was I just wanted to write a creepy story. And so I did. Most of these stories, the thing about the Kingscreek stories is that there is a larger project, larger larger plan I'm working towards but like in these first couple episodes, I wanted to try and focus more on making like a good story in the context of one episode first. Because I feel that a lot of like horror shows, a lot of stuff kind of gets caught up in the interconnectivity of it at all very quickly. And obviously this is interconnected, like it is a complete non-linear story. It is a complete linear story that I'm telling, sorry. But I wanted to try and create like this atmosphere and this world first. And so to me, part of that was that I wanted to just try and be creative and kind of go wild with any kind of horror concepts I'd ever thought of or ever had occurred to me. Something that I've been doing is that with every episode, I want to try and do something like a little bit unique. Like, you'll never have like an episode where like a guy, you know, is bitten by a werewolf and then turns into a werewolf and then is killed by like a, you know, silver bullet. Like, nothing against those stories.
Yeah.
Like, I think some of those stories are great. But for me, the horror of Kingscreek that I'm trying to work for is like part of it is not just like the weird, creepy and weird, but also like the unknown a little bit of like you don't really know exactly what you're dealing with. Like
it's not showing the monster, and you can't not show the monster if the monster is a werewolf who gets killed by a silver bullet, because even if we're not seeing the monster in the story, we've seen the monster before.
Right, exactly. And so like, you know, my intention with the first episode, like correct me if I'm wrong, because, you know, you listened to it, but my intention with it was that the audience is, like, sufficiently creeped out and sufficiently, like, unnerved and knows something strange is happening, but they have no idea what could possibly be, like, the cause of anything. Like, they don't understand what the rules are. Like, was that your perspective, your experience?
Yeah, I mean, clearly there's something... hey, I don't know if it's maybe it's a creepy tree. Maybe the tree just happens to be where it is. I don't know what's going on. I know that there's some sort of deadly force, mystical force, maybe radiation. Who even knows? Kind of in the zone that's kind of having these effects. But I couldn't tell you what's going on beyond that.
Yeah, and like another thing with horror I've found is that the best horror has a grain of truth to it, at the very least a grain of truth. And so for me,
sometimes animals do be moving strange, you know. They be kind of giving you strange looks and having strange fits and stuff. Yeah, you know.
And animals do die on the road.
Is that the grain you were going for?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Like it's kind of that plus like, I was inspired by this story specifically because there is a road like the one that's described in the story that I do go on a walk on often, and it's by the woods, and sometimes you see roadkill there. Sometimes you see like a rabbit that's been hit by a truck or something, and like that's never a pleasant feeling. But it also makes you think a little bit about like what happened here. Like you know what happened, but like sometimes you like see like a rabbit that's like looks fine except for the fact that it's dead, and you wonder like, well, what went on, you know? Like, is it possible that this rabbit just happened to die here, and I'm just assuming that it's like been hit by a car? And then of course, the other part of the story, I think we can like do a little bit spoilery for this one.
Okay.
So, the climax of the story is Mark, Damien's uncle, seeing a doe that like acts strange and starts like it doesn't act like a doe does, and it starts like hurting itself, and then it like eventually just like keels over. And before
listening to this, I kept picturing, have you seen the episode of Adventure Time where where's that
I have not seen the episode, but I have seen that deer.
I just kept thinking of that deer.
Yeah,
which is good because that's a creepy deer.
Yeah, it is a creepy deer. Like if it's the same deer I'm thinking about, it's like a deer that like takes off its hooves and has like little fingers underneath.
Oh yeah.
Like that's ugh.
Even before that though, the deers, there's just something unsettling about a deer that's acting in a non-deer way.
Like specifically, like every time I see a lot of deer in the Pacific Northwest, there's tons of deer around here. But the thing about deer is that they always act like they're always like very, very skittish. Like they're sometimes they're a little bit confident, but when they're confident, they're like curious. You know, they're like you never really feel like you're in fear, like in danger when you're around a deer, which you know, not necessarily true. Some deer when they get angry and defensive, they can do some real damage, especially if they have antlers. So that's your safety tip. But to me, the idea of like a deer that's like specifically feels predatory, you know, like it feels like it's looking at you and it wants to hurt you specifically.
Yeah,
for whatever,
a very
reason.
Inverting deerhood, you know.
Yeah,
it's kind of getting the deer and stretching it like until the image box reverses in Paint.net.
And that's like a good trick, like with horror.
Metaphysical Paint.net.
If you just take something real, and then you just stretch it a little bit in a weird way, that's like enough. You don't need to come up with like a whole new like horror mythos or like a whole new like creature with different rules and stuff. Just take something familiar and just like pull it in a weird way. Like make it act a little bit strange. Make it do something that isn't out of the ordinary. Make it like look a little weird. It's like the uncanny it's like the conceptual uncanny valley. The uncanny valley is excellent.
It's like, you know what's scarier than a werewolf? a guy who blinks sideways.
Right? Like a werewolf is like, big monster coming to eat me. But like,
Oh, I hope he doesn't bite my neck. Yeah.
yeah, and like but you understand the rules, right? You know, like, oh, if he bites me, then either I die or I turn into a werewolf, like horrifying, etc., etc. But like conceptually, you're like, okay, whatever. But like if a guy just like looks at you a little strange, and like maybe his smile's a little too wide, maybe he blinks one eye at a time, maybe his pupils are just a little bit too small, and like the alarm bells, the same alarm bells go off in your brain, but you don't know where to like channel that energy, right? You don't know where to.
Yeah, you're kind of you're in the kind of fight or flight beat, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, getting put in that zone. That's good. Yeah, I think you accomplished that.
Excellent. I'm so happy about that. Currently I have completely written 15 episodes, which is 3/4 of the full season, and we have 6 episodes like in the can, just ready to go, and like the others are all in varying stages of production, which is good for this show, because this kind of show, it doesn't take a whole lot to get. Like, don't do this if it's a TV show, but if it's like an audio podcast where you record and then you score the things, like that's fine. But that's always been trying to be my philosophy with this. And the thing is that I was saying that I don't really think about the mythos as much with the earlier stories. It doesn't mean I don't think about it, because I do know what the deal is with what's happening in episode 1. Like, I know what's going on. Like, I know where the story's gonna go. I don't have every detail planned out. I don't have like a master doc or anything that has. I mean, I do have a master doc, but I don't have like a itemized list of like, this is every single little plot beat that's gonna happen. This is every single story that's gonna happen. I don't have that, but I do know the basic rules of this world. And I do know my characters, and I do know where they're gonna go. And I think that having that kind of ability to like knowing where you're supposed to go, but also having the ability to kind of improvise a little bit if you need to, like, that's like the optimal.
Yeah, that's the balance.
Yeah, that's the optimal place to be.
Well, speaking of places to be, I think that's a pretty nice kind of resting point.
Yeah.
In the interests of brevity, I wonder if we kind of roll to a close there. Save any questions for the more segment-heavy next episode.
Yeah, I think so. I did have one question here, but it was about planning out stories, and so I think I kind of talked about that.
I guess we just kind of answered that. Yeah, what you just said like 10 seconds ago. Is the perfect answer to that.
I mean, we might still
we
might still answer it in a future episode, but you know,
yeah, we could go into more depth.
Not to repeat myself, I guess.
No, I gotta start. Hey, throw the podcast into VidIq, and it's gonna tell us to
wrap it up.
Hit those key notes over and over again. Yeah, same questions, slop. Hopefully won't be quite so long till the next one, but who knows? We make these when we make them, because we're both busy little guys. But we'd love it if you swung back around. Why not hit subscribe? Why not hit like? Maybe you're on Spotify. Why not hit 5 stars?
And
thank you for coming along
if you're on Spotify, listen to Kingscreek, because that does have a regular schedule every single week until the season's over, or at least until episode 10, which is when we have a fail-safe, or like if we're not completely done, we'll put that as like our season break, but at least until episode 10, at the very least, for 10 weeks.
Again, just shout out one more time. Thank you to BusterCorp on YouTube for stepping in to edit this. But with that out of the way, I think we're about done here.
Yeah, I think so. You know, general plugging of like, check out Pillar's channel, check out my channel as well. I already shouted out Kingscreek, and you already shouted out Buster. And I think other than that, I think that's about all we have to cover. So,
yep.
I've been TSD Talks.
I am Pillar of Garbage.
And this has been the Pillar of Garbage podcast.
Wonderful. Episode 17.
Episode 17.
Octave pedals.
We're almost there. And it's been a year. It's also been a year since we
Yeah, we're recording this the day after, 366 days after we started up. So yeah, thanks for coming along for the ride. Bye.
Bye.